One of my favorite childhood movies is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. I've seen this movie so many times as a kid that I could reenact the entire movie if I wanted to. However, there are a couple of things that are never really explained in the movie that may strike some people as odd. While I rewatched the movie, I came up with some theories that I'd like to share with you. Keep in mind that these are just theories and interpretations, and I'm not saying that I 100% believe these theories are true. These are just ideas that explain some details never explained in the movie that I thought were interesting, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this subject matter as well. Some of these theories are quite obvious, but in my opinion aren't addressed enough. Number 1. Multiple families live in the castle. Most people assume the Beast has a couple of servants who got cursed and live in the castle as objects. However, there's one kid character who is turned into a teacup. In one scene we see him being put on the shelf with a whole bunch of other children. Are they servants as well? My theory is that there are actually multiple families living in the castle. The movie shows there are romances between the servants, and the movie also shows just how many people actually live in the castle. I mean, in the song Human Again alone we see a dozen of characters singing about how much they want to be human again. Another possibility is that most of the objects were never human to begin with and were given a conscience because of the curse. However, this makes the Human Again song very confusing since it becomes hard to make out which one is actually human and which one isn't. Number 2. Gaston doesn't want to marry Belle because of her beauty. This is something a lot of people interpret as well. One of the morals the movie likes to address is don't judge only by appearance. Therefore, the most logical conclusion is that Gaston falls in love with Belle because he considers her the most beautiful girl in town, thus ignoring her personality and judging only her appearance. This is true in the beginning. However, when Belle turns Gaston down in what he considers a humiliating way, he starts to get angry at her and forces her to marry him. Not because he is in love with her or even that he cares that much about her beauty. No, this has to do with Gaston's character. Gaston is used to being the absolute best at everything. He has an entire song dedicated to this fact. He succeeds at everything he tries, he gets every woman he wants, and every man wants to be him. But when someone turns him down, someone he wanted to be his wife of all things, he couldn't believe what was happening. His desire to be the best made him blind, and from that point on, he did everything to get what he wanted, even if it required taking dark measures. When Belle turns him down again, it triggers an even angrier state, and Gaston thinks that the only way to show nobody messes with him is to take the Beast's life. No sympathy, not thinking anything through, and a desperate desire to prove himself are parts of who Gaston is. In my opinion, this is a very strong villain motivation, seeing it as a dark side of men I actually recognize in real life. Maybe not on the same scale, but still recognizable. For the next one, I actually have two theories combined. Number 3 and number 4. The mob searching for the castle took all night and the mirror is able to show roots. When Maurice travels to the castle by horse, it seems like he travels for hours and hours. When Belle travels to the Beast's castle by horse, it also looks like a long time passed by since it's daylight when she leaves and it's nighttime when she arrives. Well, either that or it's just really cloudy over there. But the strange thing is, when the mob goes to the castle, they seem to be walking a relatively short time. And they know the way instantly, like it's common knowledge, even though a couple of minutes earlier, they didn't know anything about the castle. Now, why they knew the road is actually quite easy. Since Gaston has the magic mirror, he just asks where the castle is and the mirror shows him the way. Even though it's never told the mirror is able to show routes, it is able to.
I'll show you anything. Anything you wish to see.
So, if you wanted the quickest path to the castle, wouldn't that be what you get to see? However, the reason they arrived there so fast is a little unclear. This made me think, it's also possible that the distance is long and a couple of hours went by during the mob song, even though it looks short because the song isn't that long. Since Belle travels on horse and the mob on foot, it's highly possible for her to catch up on them some hours later. This would also explain why it turns daylight once the curse is broken. But the time Gaston fights the Beast, it's actually morning. You just can't see it because of the weather. Another possibility is that the castle is actually rather close to the village, and Maurice was the only one to take a long route, since he didn't plan on going to the castle in the first place. Number 5. Belle stays at the Beast's castle for no more than 2 nights. This is something a lot of people talked about before. It is never clear just how long Belle stays at the Beast's castle during the movie. If you look at the romance scenes in the middle of the movie, it feels like a couple of weeks, since we see them in all kinds of different situations and they seem to have some sort of love bond before the climax starts. But there's one important scene that confuses a lot of people. when Maurice goes searching for Belle and DeFou waits for Belle's arrival. This happens right before all those romance scenes, so if weeks truly passed by, it means Maurice traveled without food or water for weeks, which seems highly unlikely. Also, they make it look like LeFou literally waited all the time and turned into a snowman. For LeFou it was possible to go home and return the next day, but what does Maurice take with him? Some papers and extra clothes, no water or food. He couldn't have made it that long. If you look at the scenes with Belle and imagine she stays there for 1 or 2 nights, it starts to make sense. Her first night she tries to run away after the beast scares her, but she decides to return and heal his wounds. That same night, Maurice goes searching for Belle. The next day they have a romantic day with playing in the snow and the beast showing Belle the library. Possibly the same day the Human Again song takes place, ending with the famous dance scene. From that point on, the movie takes place during night, except for the very ending. It's either 1, 2, or at most 3 nights. Number 6. The Beast had multiple guests. The movie makes it look like Maurice is the first person to ever visit the Beast in 10 years, but what if he wasn't the first? There are 3 reasons why I consider this a possibility. In the opening, the narrator states,
As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope.
And in the Be Our Guest song, Lumiere says,
10 years we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting, needing exercise, a chance to use our skill.
These quotes suggest nobody came in 10 years, but they don't necessarily confirm it. But the third and main reason I consider this is the Beast's reaction when the mob attacks. The Beast isn't angry, he isn't sad, he is tired. He seems to have no hope left. Something he most likely feared all these years came true and the only chance of happiness left his life forever. It's possible that other people visited the castle as well, but ended up being scared off by the Beast's appearance and fled, calling Beast a monster. This in turn made the Beast even angrier, abandoning all hope that was left. The news never made it to Belle's village, which is why nobody believes Maurice's story. An angry mob marching towards his castle is something the Beast considered a possibility because of the reactions he has seen before. Number 7. Belle is lonely in the beginning of the movie. Belle makes the decision to give up all she has to save her dad, even when their father tries multiple times to talk her out of it.
Belle, no! You don't know what you're doing! No, Belle! I won't let you do this! No, Belle, listen to me. I'm old. I've lived my life.
This seems like a huge decision you wouldn't just take instantly, so I'd like to dive a bit more into why Belle decides to do this. The life Belle leads in the village looks like the life of a good person surrounded by the wrong people. In the Belle song, the people from the village say they consider Belle a weird person. The reason for this I find to be a little vague, however. Belle is someone who is actually very smart and independent, someone who stands her ground and does whatever she pleases. Seeing most people in the village follow the crowd and aren't familiar with this kind of behavior, this might be the reason a lot of people had a hard time hanging around with her. We never see Belle with any friends. She doesn't seem to miss anyone or long for anyone outside of the village. Her attempts to interact don't seem to work out. She either doesn't get a response or she just doesn't like the person that much. This doesn't make her depressed or sad. She sees the good in everyone and lets everyone be themselves, while she figures out what she wants to do in her life. Her father accepts her for who she is and their interactions seem very natural. You can see these two are family members who care about each other. Naturally, when her father is in danger, she immediately takes action. Since she only has a short time to make a decision, she blurs out she wants to be in his place. Mostly to save him, but also partly for herself. With her father gone, there would be nothing for her to return to in the village, and her desire for something different and exciting pushed her forward to make this decision. Number 8. Gaston survives the fall. Actually, he doesn't. Technically, this isn't a theory anymore, but I want to address it anyway. Gaston actually surviving the fall is something that was considered a fan theory for years. Some people actually doubted his death and started making fan theories as to how his survival would influence the outcome of the story. Would he return for revenge? Would he become crippled and start to see life from a different perspective? Would he finally admit he failed and change his life? And why am I thinking so much about this? Unfortunately, his death is made a fact by Disney in the special edition. In the shot where he falls, there are some frames that show skulls in his eyes, as a confirmation he's dead. Personally, I never doubted his death, but I like movies that leave these things open to interpretation. I think the most likely but not 100% certain death of the villain was actually very interesting. But Disney slapping you in the face saying, "Duh, he's dead," kinda feels like an insult. Even when it happens so fast you miss it unless you know it's there. Even though Disney confirmed his death, the fanfiction about Gaston's survival is still a very interesting concept. Last theory. The Beast's parents died when he was a kid. The Beast is a prince, but there are no king and queen. For as far as the audience knows, the Beast has no parents at all. This is something that is considered a nitpick and the movie never bothers to explain it. An interesting thing is that in the song Be Our Guest, Lumière says the castle has been enchanted for 10 years. However, the narrator says the Beast has to fall in love before his 21st birthday or else the curse will be permanent. This means the Beast was 10 years or younger when he got cursed. Most people consider this a mistake, but what if it was intentional? Why bother to state his age at all? The narrator could easily have said,
The rose she had offered was truly an enchanted rose. If he could learn to love another and earn her love in return by the time the last petal fell, then the spell would be broken.
and it would be okay. But no, they chose to let him say this specific detail. This started to make me think, what if the Beast's parents died when he was younger? It could be that the prince was very spoiled and the parents never had the chance to teach him how to be polite. When his parents died, the prince became angry and didn't want anything from anybody. Before they were able to declare him king, the enchantress came and cursed him, seeing he was a boy with power and he had no love in his heart. Most likely the prince would abuse his power, doing bad things. Since the beast was, well, a beast and the other humans were objects, they didn't want to teach him how to be polite in the first couple of years. The beast would most likely become angry and scare them off. So those were my 9 theories about Beauty and the Beast. I hope you enjoyed it and thanks for watching.